This is the Persistence of Vision podcast. So this is the Persistence of Vision podcast, where every month I sit down with a creative professional. We talk about career stories, life experiences, and the lessons that we've all learned along the way. My guest this month is an extremely talented actor. She and I first met in 2016 at the Memphis Film Prize. She's done a little bit of everything, not only acting, but writing, directing, producing. She's got a lot of experience. She's a friend of mine. It's a big lesson out there to always go up and talk to people at film festivals, because you never know the awesome people you're going to meet. Welcome in, Lauren Cox. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, Clint, thank you for having me. This is so much fun. And I don't get to do much film stuff right now in this season of life. And so this is something I've been really looking forward to. Thanks.
Yeah, this will be fun. It'll be very, just kind of a very casual conversation, just like two friends catching up.
Love it. Let's do it.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit. So you just said it's a little bit difficult for you right now to do film work, any acting work in this part of this time of the year specifically. So what is going on in your life that happens every year, every fall, let's say, that kind of takes you away from Memphis?
Yes. So my husband is in the NFL, and this is our 16th season. Doing that. He was in Baltimore for 11 years, and then this will be our 5th year with the Titans in Nashville.
Okay, so I like to start level set with everybody that comes on the podcast, but I'm just always interested in backstories, experiences, how people got started, where they fell in love with this profession. So I just wanted to get a sense from you as to where you got your start in acting and how that all kind of got started for you.
I started doing theater when I was in the 4th grade, I believe. It was the night before Christmas, 1998, at the Herald Theater in Collierville. Was my first show ever. I was a townsperson in a reindeer, proudly. And from then on, I just kept auditioning, and I did theater from 1998 to, 2007, my senior year of high school. Then I took a break while I was in college. And then I did one more show in 2013, I think. It was Joseph at the Kroc Center. But growing up, always had an interest in film. I would always have my mom video me on our VHS recorder doing all these different performances. And I just always wanted to be on the TV. I didn't know how to explain that as a child, but I just wanted to be on the other side of the screen, and theater was the closest I could get to that growing up, because my parents were not gonna pick up and move to Los Angeles. So I did theater for a long time. After we got married, because we're so back and forth with our home situation with Morgan's job, he was kind of the one that was like, well, look, why don't you get back into acting? You can kind of do it wherever. And I was like, that's awesome. Okay. Yeah. If you're down, I'm down. So I started auditioning for film stuff. We were in Baltimore, which DC has a good amount of film going on. Sometimes it's more like industrial commercial type stuff, but they were doing investigation, discovery, murder mystery shows. I shot one of those out there, and went up to New York for auditions from time to time, and ended up getting involved in this faith-based organization called AMTC. It was Actors, Models, and Talents for Christ. And what they did was kind of collected artists from all different facets. They had dancers, comedians, actors, singers, theater, you name it. They would set up these showcases 2 times a year in Orlando, Florida, and you could go and kind of showcase what you were good at. They had casting directors come, agents, managers. And so it was this whole week-long thing where you were just performing, and hopefully by the end of it, you'd made some connections. And so I did that in January of 2014. And from there, decided to go to LA in our off season instead of coming back to Memphis. So I lived in LA part of 2014, 15, and 16. And while I was out there, I started writing a little bit, and then that kind of snowballed into making my own shorts. And here we are today. I've got a bunch of half-written features on my computer and no time to finish them right now. But it's still a huge passion, and I love it, and I love acting, and I do all the other things if I absolutely have to. It's it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun to get back into it and to finally do film, which is what I wanted to do all along.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to ask as well, is kind of where your passion lies. And it sounds like you got a start in theater, but you
Mhm.
really didn't see yourself being on stage long term. You really wanted to be on camera in the
Mhm.
long run.
Yeah.
So when you're going back and forth, when you're doing the stuff in New York, then you go to LA during the off season. Like, what was your process? For others that might be listening, that are aspiring actors that want to get into this. What are you doing in LA to seek out, either management or an agent or auditions? How are you kind of beating the streets and making things happen for yourself?
Yeah, so I met my agent and manager at AMTC, the showcase in Orlando in 2014, and from there, I committed to coming to LA in the off season. So I kind of already had a little bit of representation set up before I went out there, and they helped me find an acting coach and helped set me up with auditions and all of that. And another perk that was super, super helpful is Morgan is with CAA, but the sports side. And so he was able to reach out to someone from the acting side, and they set me up with another great acting coach who was very helpful in just giving me advice and awesome training, obviously. And so that was really fun. But yes, it's kind of hard when people ask for advice from me because I feel like my road there was so obscure that I can't really be like, "Here, do X, Y, and Z, and you'll end up where I did." It was truly like the Lord putting all these, like, really weird situations together for me. But I feel like, honestly, with film and acting and all of that, that's how it is for everyone. You just kind of really have to go out there with a desire and a hunger to do it, and you can't go out there big-headed thinking you're just gonna be this random new star on the street. There's a million other yous, and going out there with that humility and just seeing yourself as small and someone that needs to work really hard is probably gonna get you a lot further than the perfect acting coach or the perfect agent.
Yeah, remind me after this is over, speaking of CAA and Morgan's connections, to send over my reel and my
I
writing
know, right?
samples, and just slip those under Morgan's door if you don't mind. I think about that a lot as somebody who has a day job. I'm blessed that my day job is in video production, so I get to do what it is I went to school
What you
for
love, yeah.
always wanted to do. It's not in the same way that a kid, it's not the same thing that young Clint may have envisioned for himself, when
Yeah.
he was little. But I do get to stay in this industry. Um, but yeah, when you talked about all the other people that are out there that are like yourself, the millions of others that are out there trying to be a director or an editor or an actor, I'm curious if you ever felt just kind of overwhelmed by that. When you got back into acting, you're going to New York and then out to LA. It seems like it takes the right type of person, the right type of mentality to not let that thought of to discourage you, like, oh my gosh, why even bother, because there's millions of other people like me out here. So I'm wondering, like, if you battled that in your mind, and if so, like, how you dealt with it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, with anything, we're human and there's always that sense of comparing the person next to you. And for me, what was really hard is I was coming and going so much. I think the longest stint I spent out there at one time was like 4.5 months. And I feel like by the time it was time for me to leave to go back for the season, I was just starting to get auditions and really getting in a groove with my acting partners. And so for me, it was more so like, oh, like, Lord, I know you're calling me to this, but this schedule is not working out. Like I need to be here year round so that these casting directors are seeing my face 100 times instead of just 5 or 10, because it's that repetition of people seeing you, seeing your work, seeing you audition, seeing you on camera, seeing your self-tape, seeing you walk in a room over and over and over again when they're like, "Oh, wait, I remember this girl from the such and such audition. She did great. Let's call her in." And so I was just constantly comparing myself with like, "Oh, everyone here like gets to live here and I have to come and go." But yeah, I and there were also awesome actors and actresses that I was constantly surrounded by, but honestly, that part wasn't intimidating, it was more inspiring. Like, my first acting class I was in with Tyson Ritter and Kevin Bacon's daughter, and I was getting to watch them every week perform these scenes on stage, and I was almost just so taken away with, like, how great everyone in the class was that it was hard to feel insecure because I was just so I don't know how to explain LA. Everything is so inspiring. You go in a coffee shop and you see someone on their computer and you know they're working on film. And you go to an acting class and you're watching these people work on these scenes and no one's bad. Like everyone is good and it almost is this like, "Oh, I get to be part of this. Maybe not as long as everyone else, but I get to be part of this." And it really it pushes you to do better. I think in I probably had a harder time comparing myself with the people next to me in my DC auditions, in New York auditions, than I did in LA. And I don't know that I can quite put a finger on why, but in LA, it's just in the air. And everywhere else, it's people trying really, really hard to make it work. And that struggle and just kind of, you can feel that a little bit in other places.
I'm kind of inspired listening to you say that because it's very hard for a lot of us, I think, that are creatives to not compare ourselves to others, and we see other people doing great work, and sometimes that human inclination is to be jealous or bitter. Why did they get the breaks? Why did they get this recognition and I didn't? So, yeah, so that's great. I would hope that if I were in that same situation that you're describing, that I could find inspiration in others. And it kind of reminds me. I just finished reading Bryan Cranston's autobiography, A Life in Parts.
Okay.
And as someone who's an actor who's been on a lot of auditions, you can probably relate because in his book, he was talking about his audition process and how he used to be just so nervous and he used to be so angry when others would get the role that he was going after. And then at some point, through experiences and maturity, he switched his thought process about auditioning, that he went into every audition saying, "This is my job. The job is the audition." And so it wasn't this thought of I have to do great in order to get this job. Like, no, I'm going to work today,
Mhm.
and my job is this audition. And then when he made that change in his mind, and then he had this change of perception of these other actors that were getting these parts, he could then be genuinely happy for those people.
Yeah, I know. That's great advice, and I definitely put that in my back pocket and save it because I mean, there are hard days, and there are hard auditions where it's like, "Man, I wanted that, and I got a call back, and I feel like my self-tape was spotless. What was missing? Like, was I 2 inches too tall? I'm just gonna convince myself that I was 2 inches too tall, and it has nothing to do with my talent whatsoever."
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely not me. Um, speaking of auditions and kind of what people are looking for, I'm curious when you went to Orlando and you met your agent or your manager. Did they give you any indication, like at that time, to you, like here's what we liked about you, Lauren. Here's why we think you have potential, and maybe some things that they so that you got some feedback from them, and maybe what that feedback was for you as an actor.
People would look at my resume, which at that point was 99% theater. And they would say, "You're so natural. It is surprising that you don't have much film on your resume." And so that was very reassuring to me. I was like, well, cool. That's the direction I want to go in. I think I even said to someone, like, "I'll be represented by you if you like, I got kind of pushy with it a little bit. Because I feel like in situations like that once in a lifetime opportunity of I'm never going to be in a room with this many people who could quite literally hold my destiny in their hands ever again. So I need to be a little more forceful with this stuff, which I am not at all. I'm very much so like, oh, if you didn't like it, that's fine. Like, bye, have a great day. But I just remember that week saying yes to everything and trying to meet as many people as I could and just having a good attitude about it. And when it was time to meet up with the agents and managers and casting directors that were interested in my performances that week, I just straight up was like, "Look, this is what I want to do. Like, do you want to work with me or not?" Um, and I think the being straightforward with them helped a lot, and their feedback was great. And I actually ended up getting a few awards that week, which helped me at the end of the week when you have the conversations with all the different representatives. I ended up getting like a runner up in the singing competition and maybe the improv, which I signed up for like very last minute, but ended up performing really well. And I've never studied improv or comedy at all. So that was kind of fun. And then I got overall best female adult actress, which was like the best award that an adult female that wants to act could have gotten. And so having all of those awards given to me before I went into the conversations with the representatives was super helpful too. But I just remember being like, this week doesn't feel real. Like, is this a Twilight Zone that I'm, how did I end up here? Because a year ago, I was not even acting at all. How did I zip through this so quickly and end up in this spot right now? But
You said before, had you done anything on camera at that point, or was it all
n-
theater?
not really, no. It was pretty much all theater. I think I might have done one investigation discovery episode prior to that because I ended up getting representation on my own from some lady in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, but she ended up being a huge sketchball, so I didn't re-sign with her after the first year. But I
Well,
think she
we have to elaborate on the sketchball stories now.
okay, well, I for all actors listening, you don't pay your agent a single thing until they book you in a job. And starting out, I did not know that. And she got $150 up front for a signing fee and then helped me get headshots made, which were horrible. But I had to pay her for telling me who the photographer was. It was just like the dumbest, when you're starting out in film, you don't know what's normal and what's not. And so I was like, okay, $150, like, sure. Well, cool. She just got $150 and she didn't even have to work to get me anything, like, so I didn't resign. But she did get me on one episode of like, oh, what is it called? Yeah, I don't know. It was some murder show.
Since that event in Orlando was Christian centric, I'm curious as an actor who also has a strong faith and is a Christian, you're a Christian yourself. Curious how that, what kind of struggle or conflict that um, that causes for you as an actor when it comes to picking a role or selecting material. Someone you really aspire to be an actor, be it as we know that all the roles that come to you are not going to be roles that are really that a Christian really wants to be a part of or he wants to put your name onto. So I'm curious, like as an actor with faith, how you balance that out.
Yeah, I think one of the things that they talked about at the conference, and it was great. They had a bunch of showcases and workshops and all that stuff, but they also had speakers come who were actors currently or, writers, directors currently, and they talked about kind of their road to where they had gotten in the industry. And one thing that one of the actors said that stood out to me, and she was like, before you even get started, just know what your limit is. Like, know what your boundaries for yourself are, what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with, and just don't even audition for the stuff that you would want to accept. And that was a little hard and a little bit disheartening because when I got to LA, I was getting, a handful of auditions sent to me, and I probably had to turn down half of them because it was either the storyline I didn't feel comfortable with, or the language I didn't feel comfortable with, or there might have been nudity that I wasn't comfortable with. And again, that's not to say like everyone has to do it exactly like me. It was just like my own personal convictions. But Morgan and I talked about like what we both thought would be okay and what would best represent us and best represent God. And so I just kind of would have to read through the sides and figure out if the project was going to be right for me or if the part was right for me. And it was kind of sad because there were a few things that I turned down that I was like, man, it would really, really help my career to book this show or this job, or I really love this casting director. I want her to see me in a self tape. But I just kind of was like, well, from the get-go, this is where I have to draw the line, and I just stuck with it. But yeah, sometimes it kind of stunk a little bit.
Yeah. So did you have like either written down or in your head like a list of things that was kind of your limit, as you mentioned, or was it more of like a project by project basis? Did that goalpost move a little bit depending on the material?
For example, I remember there was one audition where the part I was going out for was a drug addict, and some of her lines involved cursing, but in the end, her character was redeemed. And so I feel like the language in that situation kind of helped push the storyline as opposed to like 2 or 3 weeks later, I'd gotten an audition and I was just like some like ditzy roommate girl who was cussing out the wazoo for really no reason. And so it was like I said yes to the first one and no to the second one. Um, and if I was ever back and forth with it, I'd ask Morgan. Sometimes he was an easy yes or no. If it wasn't an easy yes or no for either of us, I would just pray about it. And if I felt like I was trying to get away with something by saying yes, then I was like, it's probably not right. A lot of people were very, very kind about it and would like acting coaches would, pick scenes, be like, this one's for you, Lauren. But the ones that gave me a hard time, it almost kind of drove me to like stick my foot in the ground a little harder. And I was like, I said no. Maybe a lot more people would know my name if I had just done.
When you say that, like more people knowing your name, I'm curious, like for you now, as you think about your life and your career, personally speaking, what is it that you want out of your acting career at this point in your life?
I just love the craft so much. And I love getting engulfed in the scene that I'm shooting that I just want a career where people on the other side of the screen are experiencing the exact same thing that I'm experiencing while I'm working. I just think that would be the coolest job ever to get people to just sit down, relax, watch a movie, and they're laughing because you made them laugh, or they're crying because you made them cry, or they're thinking twice about something because of the way you delivered a line. I don't know. I don't care about how big the projects are or how small they are. I just want to be working where I get to make people feel something all the time. And again, that's not the season of life that I'm in right now. I can't just like go shoot multiple projects a year, but yeah, that's the goal. I love acting, and I really am loving writing too. And so anytime I can just like invoke an emotion in someone, I feel like I can call it a day and be happy.
So for all of the unfinished feature scripts that are sitting on a hard drive somewhere for you right now, are there any thoughts? Have you given any thoughts to like, okay, when this one is finished, here are my plans. Here's what I'd like to do with it. Is it something
Mhm.
that you would like to sell? You used to get an agent, produce yourself. What are you thinking?
I don't know that I would want to produce them myself because I am I've worn a lot of hats shooting my own short films, and I hate most of them. I would I'm not planning stresses me out, raising money stresses me out. Um, you know, advertising stresses me. All of those things I'm just not good at. I don't enjoy. I would rather find someone who loves that side of it and trust them to do it for me. In my perfect world, I would get to write scripts, have representation, have other people be like, "Ooh, that's cool. Let's buy it and produce it." And then I'm like, "Here, it's ready for you. And if you want to cast me to be in it, that would be awesome."
Yeah, I'm kind of the complete opposite. Like I'm the guy that enjoys the planning. I enjoy being behind the camera. Like I love answering all the questions that come at me when I'm directing,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
think for me, like looking at actors, I'm thinking, okay, well, you guys are the ones that are having to be out there crawling through the mud for some scene, or you're the ones standing in the rain or the snow, and you're the ones that are hot and uncomfortable and all this and have the pressure of being emotional and doing all this. I just get to be behind the camera and watch it all, which
Yeah.
is kind of where I would rather be than be in front of the camera.
Yeah, no, like creating call sheets, making sure costumes are taken care of. I mean, shoot, like craft services. I mean, one of my short films that I did, I had to do all of that myself. And it just, I'm not good at it. Do not hire me to do any of that for you because I will do a terrible job and I will be stressed to the max while I'm doing a terrible job.
I know that you've done some of your own shorts. You've got a couple few producer credits. You've
I
done some of that
do.
too.
Yeah, I've produced, written, directed, produced, starred in 3 of my own short films, but I'm in the thick of motherhood right now, so I don't really have
Motherhood and football season.
Yeah, yeah, motherhood and football season, and we started homeschooling this year, so
I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit here, but you just mentioned you learned quickly what you are not good at and what you don't enjoy doing and what you do prefer when it comes to being part of film production. I'm curious, as you're thinking back of your career, what was the kind of that first big learning experience where you kind of learned something about yourself, what you wanted, you learned anything about the process of filmmaking, something that kind of like was kind of a reality check or a gut punch, like, oh, okay, now I'm starting to get it.
Mhm. Gosh, so many. The first short film I did, it was when I was still living in LA, and it was literally just like a handful of me and my friends shooting, and that was my first time putting anything together, and thankfully, I was in a writing class at the time, so I had the script polished-ish by my writing coach. A good dear friend of mine was the producer, and she just kinda was like, "Here, little Lauren, this is how things work," and so she helped me set up, like, the DP and the sound guy, and we hired this cute girl from, I don't know, one of the California schools to do some music for us, and it was just, like, a fun little, like, 4-day shoot. We ran around LA, and the short was sweet, and it went into a few festivals, but that thing will never see the light of day from that point forward because it was, like, just really, like, my test run. Then Traveling Soldier, the one that I did in 2018 was my next short, and that one was a bigger crew. The producer was a good friend of mine, Wendy Steele. She's amazing. Her husband worked for the Ravens in Baltimore. That's how we met. But her dad was in film. She's in film. She's still working like crazy to this day. But she was so sweet and came on as my producer for Traveling Soldier. And so she really helped me and taught me a lot along the way. But I don't know, I could go on and on about just the mistakes that I made, the things that I learned, because I didn't go to film school, and so I don't really have a lot of, like, technical knowledge or background as far as that stuff goes. I really am just an actor wanting to act, and there's not enough opportunities for me to do that, so I'm trying to do it on my own. I've learned along the way, I've made mistakes along the way, and everyone's been great and cool and understanding, and I'm also paying for these, so people just kinda have to, like, let me be dumb sometimes.
And of course, Traveling Soldier was a period piece as well,
Yes.
which I'm sure added its own layer of complexity and frustrations and
Yes.
difficulties.
It did. I remember going to the Army surplus store in Clarryville one day, and I walked up to the lady behind the counter, and I was like, "I'm shooting a World War II period piece, and I need stuff." And she was like, "Okay, do you have a list of stuff that you need?" And I was like, "Yes." And she was like, "We have it all." And I was like, "Okay, good, because if you didn't, I don't know what I would do here." It was fun as an actor to be in a period piece. It was not fun as a producer to be doing a period piece, but we did it.
I listened to the podcast Smartless that Will Arnett does with Sean Hayes and Jason Bateman, and it is by far one of the funniest podcasts I've ever heard. And they have celebrity guests on talking about their careers and stuff. And And when you're talking about the things that you've learned, things that you like and don't like about projects, what you're looking for, it reminded me of this one instance where Will Arnett was kind of saying the same thing. Like, at this stage of my life, I'm a lot pickier about what I do. He said, if I look at the script and the first page says exterior night, he says, I'm out. Nope, not doing any. I'm not doing any night stuff because you're going to be up. Because I did that too. Even on a short film. In my experience, like in my 20s, did a short film that's all at night, and we had to shoot in a grocery store for 2 all-nighters.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you get to a point in your life when you're thinking, yeah, I don't want to do that. Try something else, do something different.
Yeah, you're like scrambling to combine scenes because you can't be in a restaurant and a subway station. It's like, how can we condense these and make it easy to shoot? That was another thing that I learned in LA. I had written all these cute little like cafe scenes and restaurant scenes and twinkling light bridges. And my friend Rose read the script and she was like, we can't do this in LA. We're going to get arrested. I was like, oh, so what do we do then? She was like, you got to rewrite it and like put it in someone's backyard. And I was like, okay, got it. Traveling Soldier started out as a feature. So I condensed it into a short to shoot the short version. And so when I was condensing it into the short, I was taking parts of it and I was like, okay, who would I need to ask permission to shoot this before I put it on paper? And everything thankfully fell into place, but we did a lot of it on the town square, which majority of those restaurants and businesses are owned by Morgan's family or family friends. So it wasn't hard to get permission there. And the other parts of it were shot at Johnson Park in Collierville, which one of my friends from 3rd grade, his dad like works for Parks and Rec in Collierville. So again, I was like, I know I can get permission to do this before I like waste my time putting it into scene formats.
Wow, Morgan is very, very well connected. I need to just make a note. Be best friends with Morgan.
Yeah.
I'm just jotting this down here.
They go way back in Collierville. They have some fun stories.
So you're doing some stuff on camera. You've done some stuff in New York. You've done some stuff in LA. So tell me kind of what is the biggest thing that you've been a part of as an actor so far in your career?
I think this is not like a role to brag about, but I worked on season 4 of House of Cards while that was shooting in the Baltimore area. And I was a featured extra. I got enough vouchers to become SAG eligible that season. And I got to be, as by far the most professional set I've ever worked on. I was like a Secret Service agent for Robin Wright, or Claire Underwood's character. So I think I was on set somewhere between 30 and 40 days that season. And I was on set with her every single time. Kevin Spacey a handful of times. And because we were like featured extras, not regular extras, they were really kind and let us hang out with some of the like actors. We didn't have to go to like the extra craft services or the extras tent. They would kind of let us hang with the regular actors and actresses on the show. And so it was really cool getting to watch like behind the scenes how a show of that magnitude functions and works and runs. And yeah, it was again, like I didn't have any lines or anything, but just getting to be on set that consistently that season was really cool and really eye-opening. That probably was my biggest takeaway as an actor, was getting to work on that show.
For someone that got to be so close to the actors on that show, I'm sure for you, what were some things that you remember that stuck out in your mind about things that you're going to kind of like take a mental note of as you're observing these actors do their jobs?
That show was a very serious set. I think just reading the tone of the room is huge and something to take away from. Like, if you know that there's a really intense scene coming up, you're not going to walk up to someone and be like, hey, what'd you do this weekend? Because you know that those actors are preparing to get in a headspace where they can perform to the best of their ability for what's going on in that scene. I also did like way, way, way early on, back before I went to LA, I did 2 or 3 episodes of Veep as an extra. And the tone on that show was so different. Everyone was cutting up and laughing and talking, and it kind of wasn't that serious. And then to go from that to House of Cards, where everyone is just like very solemn all the time, I was like, okay, I need to look at the crew and the bigger name actors and actresses, and however they're behaving today is how I need to behave, because if I'm too loud or too obnoxious or whatever the case may be, then I'm going to get booted out of here in 2 seconds.
From your observations, who's setting the tone overall? Is it the material? Is it the director? Is it kind of the lead actors? What did you notice?
I think the lead actors probably. You definitely want to pay attention to their mood and uh their vibe of the day.
So what do you have any big on-set nightmare stories?
I don't know that I have set nightmare stories. I have like audition nightmare stories. Like one time I was auditioning for this, it was a senior thesis project at UCLA, and those actually turn out pretty decent. Definitely worth doing those just to build a reel as an actor. It was a vampire short film, and I got there and they wanted me to act out this part where this woman was like dying on a bed, and I was supposed to be like biting her neck as someone comes in the room, and I'm like biting this woman's neck, and then I'm supposed to look up at the person coming in the room without like breaking contact with her neck, but there's nothing there. And so I just felt like this snarling wolf, like crouching over a chair, trying to enact the scene. And I probably, this is all in my head, but as soon as I got done, everybody was like, okay, thank you. And I just ran out, didn't hear anything back. And there was another audition I went to one time for like this small little musical or something, and they needed you to sing and dance. Apparently, I only got the singing memo. So I had a song prepared, but I showed up and they were like, "Okay, and now your 3/8 count dance." And I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" And they were like "Yeah, you're supposed to sing and then we needed 3/8 counts." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, 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 of course," like, totally pretending like I knew exactly what they were talking about, and I was, like, walking back to get in position, sweating profusely, like, "What do I do? What do I do? I'm not a dancer, I've done theater dances," and so I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay," and all I could think of was this opening number from Broadway Babies 2004, where we're on stage doing at the ballet or something. I can't even remember the song. All I could think of was like the opening dance number from that song from the play I was in when I was like 14 years old. At this point, I'm like 26. And so I start doing it and I get like 2.5 8 counts in, and I'm sure I looked horrible. And they just stared at me and I was like, "Thank you for your time," and just like walked out. It was so awkward and so uncomfortable. So yeah, I set stuff I feel like has not really, like, nothing's ringing a bell. As soon as we end this interview, I'm gonna think of like 20 instances I could have shared, but right now it's just the audition stuff is sometimes such a nightmare. I'm like, "You want me to do what?"
You went further in that audition experience than I would have if
You
they
just
had
would have pieced out.
said, if they had said, "And your dance," I'm like, "See ya."
Oh, well, okay.
So with everything, with everything that I think about, things that have happened to me, mistakes that I've made, I'm trying to put a spin on it now in my life. When I look back to things that happened in my 20s and gosh, even things that happened 2 years ago, I'm trying to think now about what it taught me and how it made me better in some way. So, of these nightmare audition stories, although they're fun stories to share now, just curious if that's something you reflect on. Like, what did this experience teach me about acting or the process? Or here's how I improved as a result.
Mhm. I think 2 things. I think, technically speaking, it reminds me to become fully engulfed in whoever it is that I am portraying in that audition. The vampire audition, for example. If I walk in there and I am Lauren Cox, the vampire lady, then they can ask me to do whatever it is they want to ask me to do, and I'm going to feel confident doing it no matter how dumb I look. So, first thing is to just completely transform into whoever it is you're playing. Secondly, not technical, stay humble, because you are going to look like an idiot a lot of times. I have walked out of so many rooms like, oh my gosh, that was horrible. Or, oh my gosh, I can't believe they asked me to do that. That was really dumb, but whatever. Um, yeah. The second you start getting a big head in this industry as an actor, you're going to fall flat on your face, and it is going to be 10 times more embarrassing than it would have been if you just been like, you know what? I did my best. Here goes nothing. Hopefully I'm right for the project. And if I ruin my audition, then maybe just give me a call back in a second look or whatever. Ask me to do it a different way.
Did you ever think, in your career, have you ever had any thoughts of regret about, I wish I could have been in LA full time and I wish I hadn't been bouncing back and forth? Because we all make choices in life. And when you make a choice, that inevitably means that you may have to sacrifice something else, whatever that is. And I think part of my life now is I'm coming to terms in my own way with choices, good or bad, that I've made. So just curious for you, you have a supportive husband, but he has a job, of course. So there's that. But then there's things that, goals and for yourself that you have. So I'm curious, just, personally speaking, if there's any like, either a twinge of regret for you.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Yeah. And if so, how you can deal with that in a healthy way.
Yeah. I think before I started having kids, and this was like the main driving force for me, I was trying to figure out every way I could possibly spend in Los Angeles. How can I maximize my time there? How can I go out there for 2 weeks in October and, yada, yada, yada. And so I was trying really, really hard to make it work. But once I started having kids, it just changed everything. I was like acting second, but like a big time second, because I mean, I'm a stay-at-home mom. Like I'm with them all day long, and I wouldn't have it any other way right now. This chapter of life is so sweet, and of course, like the desire to act and write is still there, but I know it's still going to be there when they're grown up too. And I can still be 65, 70 years old on set somewhere. I mean, how many times do we see, actors talking about, oh yeah, I booked The Office at 40 after 10 years of living in it. Like, I think if this is something that the Lord has called me to and he has me on the road towards, then I can pause it for a little bit to be home as a mom and pick it back up later. And so I don't really have any like regret necessarily. I will say I struggled a little bit just like my first year of motherhood, like, oh my gosh, it's going to take me so long to get back into the swing of things. I'm going to lose all my connections and lose all my jobs, and everyone's going to forget about me. But then, like, the more into motherhood I went and the more kids we started having, I was like, it's fine. Forget me. I'll reinstate my name 20 years from now after I get to do, yeah. In the beginning of motherhood, I did struggle with it a little bit because I was like, how am I going to make both of these things work at the exact same time when they both require so much focus and attention? And as the years have gone on, I'm just kind of like, acting won't be there when they're out of the house. Writing I can do after they go to bed. Like I'm still doing little things here and there. I'm still auditioning, just not as much. So not so much regret and not so much anything I would have done differently. But that's mom of 4 Lauren saying that. Mom of 1 Lauren probably would have been like, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out how to do both. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I asked the question is because out of the tens of listeners that I have on this podcast, there may be somebody who is a younger version of you, right? Who is who needs to hear something like that,
Yeah.
And I think that, me being a dad of three, I love to write and shoot and direct my own
Mhm.
films. But at the same time, when I'm on set doing that, sometimes I'm thinking, man, I could be home with my kids right now.
Yeah.
So you're constantly torn between the two of like,
Mhm.
this is what I love to do and what I want to be doing for myself, but
Mhm.
yet I'm giving up something in the process, which is why I like to do short films when I can just
Yeah.
spend 2 to 5 days and then I'm in and I'm out and we
Yeah.
get it done and then I'm back at home.
Mhm. I think some people, that are actors and actresses by trade or directors, whatever hat you wear in this industry, some people make it work and their families travel with them, and that's awesome and so much fun, and I would love for that to be our situation. It's not. My husband's job has us in Nashville, and so if the gig is not in Nashville or Memphis, I'm probably gonna turn the audition down. When he's done playing and we are a little more flexible, who knows? Maybe I'll say yes to more and we'll be on the road a little bit more. I don't really know what that's gonna look like. But for right now, I'm okay just kind of being put where I am and being home with my kids, and if an opportunity comes up that works out for me, then I go for it. I audition. I don't know, this summer was a little bit busy, but I also had to say no to so many things because it's like, "Well, I can't make it to Charlotte in 3 days," or, "I can't, go to Miami for this callback, so why even audition?" Because that means I'm staying up after bedtime to set up my camera and editing a self-tape for something that I know I'm gonna have to say no to it's like such a push and pull.
As soon as Morgan retires and he hangs up the cleats for good, then he can you hand him the homeschool workbooks and you say, "Here you go, Morgan," and then you're out the door for all kinds of auditions.
Yeah, we'll become a team at that point. He's actually had, like, some of the he's helped in some of the most fun ways on my short films. For Traveling Soldier, he was the Daniel handler because I try to have my kids somehow in every short film that I do, and so Daniel had this little, like, cameo. So he helped with that, and then in Without a Roof, he followed us around all day long with a script and, like, kind of prepped for a scene coming up or, held the slate, like, he loves being part of it too, and I kind of am trying to, like, put a bug in my kid's ear. Like, we shot a short film over the summer, like, on my iPhone, no lighting, no sound. It was very, very, like, home video level production, but it was so sweet, and the kids had so much fun, and they keep talking about it, and I'm like, "What if I can raise a little DP or, a little producer and have it be something they love, and then this can become, like, a family thing." Maybe that's where this is all headed. Maybe we're doing it together in 20 years from now, who knows?
Yeah, it's the 21st century of a little vaudeville
Yeah.
performing family. Just take it on the road.
I know, right? We'll see.
Are you able to watch yourself on screen when you do a project? And I know some actors are a little uncomfortable about it, and some like, oh, I never watch anything I ever do.
I do, I'm way too curious not to. So I do, but I'm pretty critical of myself, yeah.
I know that there's always this emotional roller coaster that I'm on when I'm doing one of my own films where I'm on set and we're shooting stuff on the day and I'm thinking, this is great. I'm loving what I'm seeing. We're getting good stuff. Then I go in and I start editing and then I'm in this valley of despair. Like,
You're
this
like,
is not cutting
"I have
together.
nothing."
This is not going to cut together. There's no way this is going to happen. And then I finally kind of claw my way out of that little emotional hole. Like, oh, okay. All right. Yeah, it's happening.
I do watch myself, but I'm very, very critical of myself too. I mean, I still have so much to learn. Like, let's be real, I haven't really been on that many sets before, and I compared to other people, like, I haven't worked as much as others, and I've taken a huge chunk of time off as well, just to
Sure.
have kids, and so there's still so much for me to learn and so many ways that I can grow.
That's exactly the way I feel. I think that is what led me to, I kind of sabotage myself in a lot of ways creatively
Mhm.
because I didn't want to write about my experiences online because, like you, I'm thinking I still have a lot to learn. I'm
Mhm.
I'm not a big name director. I hesitated to start this podcast because I'm thinking I'm a nobody. Who's going to listen to me? And,
Hmm.
and what do I have to offer? And then I started thinking about the fact that everyone's experiences are their own experiences,
Hmm.
and they may be similar, but they're not quite the same as the next person. So when I thought about it like that, like, okay, just write for fun, write for you, do the podcast for you, whatever, do your YouTube channel, for you. And if I can help one person, then that's important,
Yeah.
and I find value in that.
Yeah. Do what you love. I know that's kind of the approach that I've taken with writing because acting drained me so much. Just there was this pressure of, okay, I'm living in Los Angeles. Something needs to happen now. And that weight was constantly on me, that when I decided to start writing, I was like, this is going to be for fun, and I'm going to work really hard at it and get really good at it and have a stack of scripts for someone to read. And if one day, 30 years from now, someone's like, sure, send me some of your stuff, and they read it and they like it, awesome. Cool. Like, it's yours if you want to take this and run with it. But yeah, the pressure that I put on myself with acting kind of drained me a little bit. And so I've been approaching writing differently. Like, I'm going to do it because I love it and I'm going to work really, really hard at it. And if God is the only one that reads my scripts, I hope he enjoyed them.
Yeah, there's a lot of self-censoring that goes on in my own head
Yeah.
where as I'm writing a script, I'm thinking, what's the point? No one's going to read it. I'm never going to get this produced.
Yeah.
And I honestly struggle with that. I've got to, like you said, I've got to stop thinking of it that way and just think about doing it because I enjoy it, doing it because it's going to teach me something about how to improve as a writer. So there's this realistic, kind of cynical side of my brain that's fighting against the positivity, optimistic side of my brain.
Yeah.
So I still deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's a very human thing to be back and forth. And it's very just prevalent in this industry of like, there's so many people that are so, so good at this stuff, and they never, ever get the recognition for it. And it's like there's so many actors that are only gonna do local short films, and there's so many directors that are only gonna direct, like, their own stuff, but if it's what you love to do and that desire has been given to you, then just go do it for yourself. Obviously, this hobby and this interest and this desire was part of the creation of Lauren, and however God wants to use that is gonna be better than me trying to use it any sort of way that I could create. I could have said yes to so many things that would have been horrible for me. Um, and I've probably said no to some things that I should have said yes to. But at the end of the day, like, this desire is kept alive and this flame is still burning. And I think that this is just part of who I am and who I was created to be and what I was created to do here. And so I'm just kind of like working really hard and trying to become the best actor that I can and the best writer that I can. And however the Lord wants to use that, like, cool, it's yours. Take it.
Yeah, I think that anyone that went to middle school and high school with me, when they see that I've posted something about a film that I'm working on, I'm sure they're thinking to themselves, yeah, that checks out, because that's what I was doing when I was in middle school. In high school, I was making movies on VHS camcorders, with friends around the neighborhood. So
Yes.
I still get to do
Same.
this. And I think that on the one side, I'm thinking, I am still doing this hobby,
Yeah, like,
this thing,
how am I still doing this? Like, have I not I feel like with any other hobby or any other, I don't know, career path, people doing it this long would have been like, "I'm out." Yeah, like, any other line
Yes.
of interest, people would have given up by now. What is it about the film industry we're just crazy enough to keep going?
Yes, and every time I start a new short film, I'm doing it on little to no money, and I'm constantly just genuinely appreciative and also a little shocked that there are people out there like me that will raise their hand and say, "Yeah, I'll give up a weekend and come help you.
Oh, there's
No problem."
so many people.
And I'm like,
So many.
"What?"
Yeah.
But I was thinking as you were talking about, uh, everything as you were trying to work through your own struggles and regrets early on and all that you just talked about, I'm just curious if there was a time where you felt like you just wanted to hang it up, despite your passion, despite your goals. What was kind of that lowest of low points, I guess?
I think maybe the lowest of lows, it wasn't necessarily like wanting to hang it up. It was just like, okay, Morgan and I had been married for 5 years and we knew that we wanted to start a family, but I was like, how is this going to work? Like, if I become a mom, that means this ends, or at least to this capacity, this ends. And so it wasn't necessarily me hanging it up. It was just like, God, I want to keep working in this industry so bad, but I know that these two things can't coincide in the way that I would like them to. So please just take this desire away from me. Like, please just let me not be interested in it anymore. Just make me someone that doesn't want to act or doesn't want to write. Just take it away, because I'm having a hard time saying no of my own strength. But the desire is still there. So I don't know. We'll make
Yeah.
it.
In that vein, as you think back on it, is there any advice that you might give to your younger self?
I think I would just say take the pressure off and just stop feeling like you have to get to point A by XYZ age or year. I felt like I couldn't start a family unless I'd booked a certain type of show, or I don't know, been on set for this many days. I was like, I'm in Los Angeles. I have to book a big role so that I can take a couple years off to have a family. But all the pressure is just, it was too much. It was unnecessary. Like, yeah, just do it because you love it, and don't, if it's meant to be a career, it'll turn into a career, but just do it because you love it, not because you have to survive off of it. That's way too much pressure.
Yeah. And I think that's a great spot to end. Just do it because you love it.
Yeah.
A great kind of bow to tie this whole thing together.
There we go.
As soon as you think of all the other stories you wanted to tell, you can call me back and say, I just thought of some more
I know.
stuff.
Oh, mom brain cleared. I remember
Yeah.
now.
Oh, this one. Yeah. I always like to give people that come on the chance to, is there like any place to find you online, anything you want to plug, anything that's going on that you want to share? If not, that's cool too.
Yeah, I'm pretty active on Instagram. It's Lauren Bell Cox is my handle. And if I ever get up the time and the brain power to create a web page or any of that, I will pass that information on to you.
And that was my conversation with Lauren Cox. I hope you enjoyed it. It was so great having the opportunity to catch up with her a little bit. She was my lead actor in my short film, The Milky Way, and I'm going to put a link to that in the show notes of this episode, but you can check it out on my website at clinttill.net/Milky Way Film. I was inspired listening to Lauren, especially when she talked about how she saw other actors when she was in LA, not as competitors. She looked at these others as inspirational, and it gave her a sense of energy and a sense of drive. And I really like that because, as I mentioned, I think that I might struggle with the competitive nature of that type of environment to where I might become discouraged or disillusioned. And also, it was great to hear how she allows her faith to sort of dictate her attitude, allowing her faith to dictate the roles she picks and why, and also leaving things up to God. So whether you are a religious person or not, I think that's still a very important lesson that we could all learn about not putting too much pressure on ourselves, but just letting things work out the way they're going to work out, and always look at the positive side of things. As always, you can see everything that I'm doing online at linktree.com/ClintTill. I hope you will subscribe to this podcast, leave a review. This will help other people to find it. As always, thank you so much for listening. I'll be back next month with another episode. This has been the Persistence of Vision podcast.